You may have a great biologic product, but if the process is not robust, if the process is not scalable and can deliver consistently the expected product quality, basically the program stops.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Pansilu, and I will be your host for today's session. So today we are joined by Dr. Mylène, who brings over 25 years of experience in the biotechnology industry, having worked with globally recognized companies all over the world. And she has led multidisciplinary CMC teams, contributed to multiple clinical and commercial manufacturing programs, and successfully supported biosimilar approval processes. Her expertise spans process development, scale-up, validation, regulatory strategy, tech transfer, and commercial manufacturing. Today, we will be discussing one of the most critical and often underestimated aspects of biological development, CMC strategy, and why it can be ultimately determine whether a product successfully reaches patients. Thank you so much for joining us today. So to begin with, you have mentioned before that we have gotten a couple of questions from our clients, and some of them have mentioned that CMC is often the limiting factor in biological development. Why does CMC become such a major challenge, even with the science behind a product may look very promising?
Yes, hi. Thank you for the introduction and the questions. So why is the CMC so often the limiting factor? It's really because it forces science into reality. So you may have a great biologic product, but if the process is not robust, if the process is not scalable and can deliver consistently the expected product quality, basically the program stops. CMC issues usually appear very late in the program, and when it's time to fix it on the late stage, most often it's too late and becomes very costly. So this is the reason why it's really important to have the process set up at the early stage and have a full strategy from the beginning, so you do not end up with a lot of issue at the end that you cannot fix, or you can, but it will delay the program and have a high cost impact on the costs.
Understood. So from your experience, what does CMC typically expose within a product development program?
CMC usually does not create problems. It really expose the problems. So because of lack of product knowledge, developability, and manufacturability not performed to assess the risk early, not assessing the variability, weak process understanding, and poor analytics. So all of that surfaces during scale-up and even later at time of process validation, when you have no more flexibility to fix.
Understood. And at one point, do companies usually realize they may have underestimated the complexity of CMC?
So typically it's around phase 3 or at worst case at the submission preparation. At the time the health authority provides feedback on the dossier, and during the PAI, the pre-approval inspection at site, when the company realizes and discovers the process of the data package won't meet those expectations, and by then at that time the options are limited.
Got it. And some of the questions also emphasize the importance of thinking backward from the BLA. Could you explain what that means in practice and how companies should frame their CMC strategy from the very beginning?
Yeah. So every decision should be made with the registration dossier, having this in mind. So otherwise, you optimize the CMC strategy short term, and you pay for it later. So most often at the later stage or during lifecycle management of the product, when it has been approved and basically it's too late. So we have to set up the strategy, CMC strategy at the beginning when you start at phase 1 to ensure that you have in mind what you need to deliver later for the BLA, and that's why you can have the strategy for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and commercial in mind, and you can you can develop it. Otherwise, you wait too late, and you face issue during lifecycle management, and when the product is already approved, it's too late to adjust the strategy.
Understood. Got it. So anticipation seems to play a huge role here. Why is early planning so critical in biologics manufacturing and regulatory strategy?
Basically, the BLA package that you have to deliver for the market, it's you deliver a package throughout phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So basically what you will deliver for phase 3 is already designed. Some of the data are already designed for phase 1. So if you do not anticipate the product knowledge, scale up and regulatory expectation very early, then you lose a degree of freedom later at time of submission.
Got it. One thing that stood out a lot was your point about phase 3 manufacturing not simply being about product volume. And could you elaborate on what companies often misunderstand about phase 3 readiness?
Yeah, so phase 3 is not about production and volume of production. It's also about representativity of the material compared to of the material for clinical phase 3 to commercial process. So at time you produce material for phase 3, it has to be representative of the commercial manufacturing. So so if you evolve your process without a strategy, you create comparability risk that will be very hard to resolve later.
Got it. Moving on, when process change happen during development, which they often do, how should companies approach these changes strategically?
Yeah, they must be planned. Some changes has regulatory implications, some don't. So if you evolve again your process without a clear strategy on CMC, when you do process changes, you are creating comparability risk. That will be very, very difficult to handle later.
All right. We got some questions also mentioning that characterization and validation are frequently underestimated. Why do these areas become so resource intensive and challenging later in development?
Yes, most of the time the stage of process characterization, process validation is misunderstood and sometimes summarized only in a PPQ campaign. And so the scope of process characterization is very massive. There are not just checkboxes, they are backbone of the control strategy for commercial manufacturing. And they require far more data, time, and resources that most companies expect. So at time of process characterization, process validation, you often realize that you do not have enough batches performed at scale representative of the future commercial process to develop a scaled-down model and to set up specification in terms of statistical analysis. So this is most of the time really underestimated, and we lack data from the scale representative from the commercial scale. So and the management, as I said earlier, sometimes often reduces the process validation to the PPQ campaign, the 3 batches, not understanding that the PPQ is only one piece of the entire process validation exercise that aim really to confirm the control strategy that should be appropriate to ensure the process will consistently deliver the product with the expected quality, meaning that really stage 1 is the backbone to deliver this control strategy for the PPQ campaign. So this is not only PPQ campaign, but it's really process validation is comprised stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3.
That's very thorough. Got it. And from a regulatory perspective, again, why do you think there's often such a gap in CMC regulatory understanding across the industry?
Yeah, honestly, it's because there is no school that teaches all CMC regulatory. So usually it comes more from the years of experience. So you only grasp the depth of a BLA after going through the exercise through several product approvals. A lot of learning is through interaction with the health authorities. And until then, expectations are constantly underestimated. Guidelines give direction, but does not provide the how to do. So the risk assessment, the control strategy, you still need to build all the pieces to deliver the dossier as expected and eliminating the risk of dossier rejection. And usually when you arrive at the CMC leading position or project management position for a particular biologic, you come from a background. Either you come from analytics or you come from upstream, downstream background, or come from manufacturing, and it takes time to build all this knowledge. That's why it's really important to it takes a full career actually to get all the knowledge for CMC. So that's why it's there's no school, so you need to learn it somehow.
That makes sense. So ideally, how early should companies begin thinking about the BLE in mind?
From the very, very beginning of the project. At time you develop the cell line and you build your strategy for phase 1 and your preclinical batch. So the first process is the foundation. The clone has been selected, and if it's not designed from the end in mind, you will face delays and increased risk later. So, for example, the monoclonality of the cell line should be assessed early on to make sure that it will pass at time of the BLA submission, which can happen like 10 or 15 years later. So you have really to know what you have to deliver. You need to know it from scratch. At time you receive the map sequence, this is the starting time you need to have your CMC strategy in mind and thinking what you have to deliver for the BLA.
Got it. I would also love to talk a little bit about the training program itself. Could you walk us through the participants, what the participants can expect from the program and the key areas it covers?
Yes, sure. Let's describe the CMC program. So it's divided in 7 modules with one logic. So building the CMC strategy from the cell line development up to the BLA. So the first module, we start by providing regulatory expectations. So we describe the CTD module 3 in detail. So knowing what you need to deliver for the BLA, also explaining what is needed to deliver for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, so the differences. So differences in the content between the INDs and the BLA. And we also describe the full overview of process validation and process characterization. We also have a module describing the cell bank establishment and testing, the prevention of virus and bacteria contamination, the HACCP and virus clearance. And we also describe the development, qualification, and validation of analytical methods. We have also one session describing how to develop the potency cell-based assay. We also have a module on scale-up and tech transfers. We basically, from our experience, take all, I would say, the CMC activities and also main question or based on experience, what would be beneficial for the participants to learn. So we share a lot about pitfalls. We also provide an overview of product development Gantt chart. So how to de-risk the project, like for example, the developability activity that should be really performed early on to not discover later some issue with the biologic. And we also describe the main document that is typical CMC document, the TPP, the QTPP, the validation master plan, and so on. And the last day of each module, we have a dedicated workshop where the participant can raise additional questions, case by case. Of course, is without sharing any confidential information, but we can support after the course. We can support the participant with their own question based on their own product, as I said, without sharing any full data on their biologic, but to have, I would say, scenarios or something. You have a theory, but you want to know how to do it, then we can provide our experience. So during the course, we really address all CMC activity in depth. We try to make it very interactive with the participant to address the questions linked to the module. And the last day, the Friday, then we discuss additional, I would say, question not exactly related to the course of the week, but could be from the module 1 or following module that we didn't have time to address, but the participant may have urgent questions that they need answers, so we can support them. It's kind of a consultancy servicing that we offer, and other participants can benefit because we usually have a bunch of I would say of participants having different type of biologics. So you learn from a vaccine, or you learn from ATMPs or MABs or different type of product, and you learn also from the question raised from the other participant as well.
Yes, thank you. That's very thorough. And finally, is there anything specific or anything special that you hope participants will ultimately gain from the program by the end of it?
Yes, so we developed the program based on my own experience. When I was CMC lead, I wanted to have clarity and confidence in the way I was developing a program. So this is what we wanted to provide to other CMC lead of a project manager. So they can anticipate regulatory expectations, make better early decisions. Is, for example, not everyone has experience, BL experience, so we teach them what they have to be careful at early stage in order to ensure their CMC strategy is appropriate, and having always the end goal in mind, even so they did not experience it, but they will avoid them to have to, I would say, to discover issue later. So we really want the participant to get confident in leading that discussion and with their own teams, own CMC teams, like the QA, manufacturing, process development, and also being able to discuss with the CDMOs, talking the same language, and make sure they develop together the best strategy for the product. And also with regulator, being to ensure that when you develop your CMC strategy, it's aligned with the regulatory expectations, and also being able to be prepared how to answer and what is the detail of content to in the BLA, so they will not address unnecessary questions from the regulators, and also to be able to defend their choices. So when they develop the strategy, is really based on the expectation and understanding what is needed, what is business risk, what is regulatory risk, and they will understand also the options. There is no single CMC strategy. Nothing is, I would say, given in the rock. You need to develop the strategy, be confident with it, discussing with your CDMO, discussing with the team, and then have an agreement. But everyone needs to understand the same language and understand the strategy and the risk and align. So the approach will differ significantly depending on whether you are developing a novel biologic, a biosimilar, operating under an accelerated pathways like a breakthrough therapy. So we also address web session related to biosimilars through also different regulatory pathways, and each context will differ in the constraint, in the risk, and the regulatory expectations. So all this we will explain, and And we want to have the participants to know these differences and adapt accordingly the strategy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. Thank you very much. So thank you again, Dr. Mylène, for sharing your insights and experience with us today. This discussion has really highlighted how critical strategic CMC thinking is, not just from a manufacturing perspective, but from a regulatory and long-term product success standpoint as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope this conversation gave you valuable insights into the realities of biologics development and the importance of building a strong CMC foundation from the very beginning. Thank you so much for sparing your time for us today and for this valuable session. Thank you.